Hey, what up? Today I wanted to talk a little bit about my Janko keyboard project. I posted it online on a few different forums a couple days ago, and I've gotten a number of questions about various aspects of it, so this is really intended to be a Q&A. I'm going to read through a bunch of questions I've gotten from you people and answer them to the best of my ability. So hopefully you find this helpful in some way, shape, or form. And if not, or I didn't answer your question, feel free to drop a line. I'll try to get around to as many as I can, and if I see enough people wanting an answer to a particular, more complicated question, I'll probably try and make some more videos. So you might be wondering what this even is. It is an Arturia Keystep, as you probably can see, and I modified the keybed. This is modeled after a keyboard layout called the Janko keyboard. Time to jump into how the hell this thing actually works. The Janko key layout is a type of isomorphic key layout, and what that means is the space between musical intervals on the keyboard remains consistent no matter where you are on the keyboard. For example, two keys directly next to each other are always a whole step, or two semitones apart, and keys diagonal to each other are always one semitone, or a half step apart. And so what that means is if you were to play any kind of musical construct on the keyboard, for example a C major, you now automatically know how to play a major chord anywhere on the keyboard by maintaining the same spacing between each of your fingers. As someone pointed out in the comment section on Facebook, isomorphic literally means same shape in Latin. So I can transpose it pretty easily up without having to learn any new muscle memory, which is why I really like this kind of keyboard layout. Other note, that same concept applies to chords, scales. So if you know the C major scale, which is just follow the white keys on a regular piano, you can apply the same transposition technique to a scale. So, yeah. Easy as that. I'm going to start reading some of the questions online. Nice. So I've had a number of people ask me about the number of keys on this. And I want to point something out. These rows are the same. The same pattern repeats. And these two lanes essentially are connected physically. You can see when I press one note on the bottom row, a note on the top row also gets depressed. On a balanced keyboard, you have to mirror your chords when you want to transpose up one semitone. But by having multiple rows, you no longer need to do that. You can just move, and your top finger has another row to reach towards. So that is why there are two rows. And no, there's the same number of notes physically playable on this mod as there is a regular Arturia Keystep. I wish there were cheap Janko keyboards. Well, you could always print one. I actually had a lot of people ask if I could 3D print them a set of keys. Unfortunately, no. I don't have enough time or materials, or it just wouldn't turn out. If you wanted to print this mod, I would recommend you just pick up a 3D printer. The technology has gotten significantly more reliable since I started doing hobby projects a while ago, and the price has gone very far down. The printer I'm currently using is an Ender 3 by Creality, and it's only $200, and it prints better than the Lulzbot Taz 4 my work had a number of years ago. I had some people ask if this same mod would work on other of Arturia's keyboards, and the short answer is, I don't know. But that makes now kind of a good point to crack this goose egg open. Now, when you're taking this apart, there's really only two wires you need to be concerned about. That is this one here connecting the pitch board to the motherboard, and all you need to do is push this. There's a little tab here. You push the two levers down, and you can remove it. This is for aftertouch, and it's just a simple cable you can pull up on to remove. Put this in somewhere safe. You wouldn't want to I don't know, get static electricity in here, so don't be like me and just yeah, don't. Now, what you're left with is a metal base plate and the key bed. Now, if you opened up yours, you probably wouldn't already have hex keys on it, so I'll show you how to remove these and put on the old keys, and just do the same steps in reverse to get the old keys off and these new keys on. But next, I want to remove the key bed from the metal base plate. Alright, there she blows. Yeah. And so what you are left with is the key bed. Also, ignore the different revisions of keys. You have the circuit board, which controls, it's essentially a key array. You can see diodes, so they just scan through each key, row and column at a time. I'm not sure exactly how these are arrayed. And just sample each key individually to see whether it's on or off. Now, I'll show you how to remove a few keys. The way the keys are attached to the key bed are these springs. They're actually held in place by tension alone. So all you need to do is pull up on the spring and pull it back, and it pops right off. You can kind of see there's just this slot that they fit into, and they pop right out that way. After you have the spring removed, you just let the key fall down and you can pull it out forward. I'll remove a few just so you can see. And it might help to remove a few at a time because they can kind of get entangled with each other just a little bit. You just wiggle them, be patient, and you know, if you're installing these, you don't have to have the keycaps on when you're putting them on, so don't get too caught up, and you can always remove them if you're having trouble taking them on or off. But you can see the way this works is there's just a little switch below each one, and then there's a strip resistor for aftertouch. Actually, let me grab the original keys and show you how they worked, and then I can show you kind of how I copied that mechanism over to this. So I'm just gonna show you the very last C key, the last key on the whole keyboard, 'cause they're all pretty much exactly the same. Now, if you look at the profile of the plastic here and the profile of the key, you can see that there's two important parts. There's, oh boy, you really probably can't see this. There's a channel here that the key rocks in. There's a button on the bottom of the key that presses this rubber button down, and then there's a little hook that goes around this edge to keep the key from popping up. So if I just set this one in, you can see how that works. There's a little hook that keeps it from popping up that way, and everything rocks back and forth on this mechanism. And there's a little spring that I pulled out earlier that you can put in, and everything's held in place by tension. You push it down, the spring goes up. Simple mechanics, right? Now, when I was modeling my keys, the main thing I was trying to accomplish was just maintain the size and spacing between those three parts. The button, the rocker, like the little triangle, and that hook. And you can see they are pretty darn similar. Similar enough that you can mount mine on in the same exact place, and you can see it do pretty much the exact same thing. But, I mean, that's pretty much it. And if you wanted to put together your own, it's really as simple as that. You just pop the springs off, pop these on, and then you're off to the races. If you had any other questions about how to build this thing, let me know in the comments and I will try and answer your questions. Forgot to note, on the original keyboard, they really grease up these parts right here around the hook, so just make sure to not get that all over your clothes. Or, I mean, you can if you like being lubed, I guess. I also forgot to mention one thing. On the current up-to-date version of these models, on the side of this little peg, I have the note name, so you'll get them in the correct order, because the spacings between the posts from key to key can be pretty darn similar, so just watch out for that. I want to take a moment for my obligatory shout out to Arturia. This thing is really solidly built, and I took apart a few keyboards, and it's the only one I've found that actually uses springs as the key returns. It really just gives everything a nice feel, even with the 3D printed parts. Now, when you're putting this guy back together, you just reverse the steps. So this ribbon cable goes back in that header. Pardon my grip. And then you push the little levers on the side of that back up. Maybe I'll take a close-up picture so it's less confusing. And then this after-touch header goes back on these pins. And I haven't found that orientation matters, but don't quote me on that. The side with the little holes on it I have facing out, so do with that what you will. Then all you do after that is just roll everything back over. If you have my mod installed, you push this edge under the front of the keys, and just make sure you don't have any cable pinches by checking the sides. These can be sticking out the edge, and that's not any good. So you can push them in and just squeeze everything back shut. Check the front for the other cable. It looks like we're all good. So then the only step left is to reinstall the remainder of the screws, and if you're installing the mod, pop the keycaps on. I would recommend doing that after the keys are on, but you can do it however you want. Okay, and there you have it. If you did everything right, should all feel good, and I mean, try it out. Hopefully it still works. If not, I'll just put a do it at your own risk thing right here, right now. Now, the last step if you're installing this mod is to put the keycaps on, and I just recommend, I did it mounted. I didn't try mounting the keycaps when the keys are off, but it's pretty easy when they're mounted. You just brace under the key with your finger, and then use your other hand to just slowly rock the key back and forth until it sits in place. And I had to clean out the inside of the caps with a razor blade on a few of my keys because the tolerances, like I said, are pretty tight. But hopefully things just go right for you the first time. Yeah, and then after that, enjoy your new keyboard. Look up some Janko keyboard video tutorials. But honestly, it's far easier to get the hang of this than it ever was for me and the piano. Someone asked how many sets of keys and keycaps need to be printed. This is a 32 key keyboard, I believe. So you're gonna have to print 3.5 octaves. So just be careful. The keys down here are actually the second half of the octave, and then you have 3 full octaves going this way. As far as keycaps are concerned, I think there are 38 white keycaps and 26 black keycaps. Will there be a video? Yes, you're watching it right now. Congratulations. Outro. I forgot. I need to do an outro. So, if you like this project, I'd recommend you just keep an eye out for what I'm working on next. I had a number of issues with the way this is designed, and I really wanted to work them out in another design, so I have more fun stuff coming on next episode. So, if you managed to watch the video this far, you're a literal lunatic, but thanks. And if you enjoyed this, or think you'd be interested in the improvements I'm going to be doing to the project, do the thing that you do on YouTube. I'm so tired of shooting these videos.